Hi, this is John Wheaton. I'm an immigration and criminal attorney in Seattle, Washington. Today we're going to be talking about license suspensions resulting from DUIs as well as ignition interlock devices in Washington State. Note that what we're going to be talking about only applies in Washington State and the requirements may be different in other states. There are two types of license suspensions resulting from DUI. One of them results when a person is arrested, and the other occurs when a person is convicted of a DUI. Let's first talk about the type of suspension that happens when a person's arrested. The Department of Licensing will automatically suspend a person's license when they're arrested for a DUI. It's a 90-day suspension if a person doesn't have any previous DUIs. It's a 1-year license revocation if the person refused the breath alcohol test. So it's a longer revocation in that case. In addition, it's a 2-year license revocation if the person has one or more prior DUIs within the last 7 years. The person arrested for DUI has an option to request a Department of Licensing hearing. If the person's license is suspended by DUI, they have 20 days from the date of arrest to contest that suspension via hearing at DOL. And if the hearing officer decides in the person's favor, then there will be no license suspension. In addition to the driver's license suspension that results when a person's arrested, there's also a suspension imposed by the court when a person is convicted. I'm going to give some numbers here for suspensions when a person's breath alcohol tests are less than 0.15. There's a 90-day suspension if the person doesn't have any previous DUIs. There's a 2-year license revocation if the person has one prior DUI in the last 7 years. Finally, there's a 3-year license revocation if the person has 2 or 3 prior DUIs in the last 7 years. It's important to note that the suspension time from the arrest is credited towards the suspension time for conviction, so you're actually not going to be serving the suspension time twice. Now let's talk a little bit about ignition interlock devices. An ignition interlock device is the device that you attach to your car that you blow into before your car will start. You can apply for an ignition interlock driver's license when your license has been suspended for a DUI. Getting an ignition interlock device requires a special type of insurance called SR22 insurance. It's basically a high-risk insurance for people that have been charged with or convicted of DUIs. The costs of an IID ignition interlock device include a $100 mandatory fee to DOL as well as substantial installation and leasing fees. In addition to the opportunity to get an IID when your license is suspended so you can get back on the road, there's also mandatory IIDs for people who are convicted of DUIs. For the first offense, an IID is required for at least 1 year after conviction. For the second offense, it's required for 5 years after conviction. For the third offense, it's required for 10 years. There are certain conditions that must be satisfied before a company that installed the ignition interlock device will remove it after your suspension has been completed. These conditions must be satisfied for the entire 4 months preceding the time when you want the device removed. And the conditions are that you couldn't have tried to start the car with breath alcohol content of 0.04 or more. Couldn't have failed to take or pass any required retest. You couldn't have failed to get scheduled maintenance and repairs on the ignition interlock device. So this has been a short presentation on DUI license suspensions and the use of the IIDs. If you want more information, please call me at 206-829-8214. Thanks for listening.